This is the Horse Radio Network. Well, hi, everybody. Before we get started in this episode of the Stable Scoot Roundtable, I wanted to apologize for my sound on this recording. Apparently, nobody noticed that I was really, really hot, which means probably I had my gain appeared to be accidentally turned up. So the guests all sound terrific. I sound garbled, and I apologize for that. What they had to say, they talked most of the time. So fortunately, in this one, it wasn't like the morning show where I talk most of the time. They talked most of the time. So get through my parts and take a listen to them because the conversation was excellent. We had 3 auditors, and they were terrific. So, and some really, really important topics they discussed. And I do apologize again for my sound. Hopefully, I've remedied that problem, and we will never do that again. It's like I'm a rookie at this. So thanks, everybody. Well, hi, everybody. This is episode 519 of the Stable Scoop Show on the Horse Radio Network. It's our Equestrian Roundtable show. Our sponsors this episode are Purina Omega Match. I'm Glenn the Geek, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of the Horses in the Morning, the longest-running daily horse podcast in the world. In every roundtable, I invite industry professionals and listeners to tackle the hot topics of the day in the horse world. I will be your host and moderator, and I'm sure that I'll have opinions occasionally, but mostly the panelists will lead the way. If you're watching live, welcome. This is the first show that we're combining live video and audio to our podcast feed. So if you miss any of this on watching live, you can catch the rest of it on the Stable Scoop podcast feed on any podcast player. Tonight, we have a roundtable made up entirely of listeners, specifically our auditors. Auditors are like our super fans who donate a little every month to Horse Radio Network to help out and also to take advantage of our auditor community. I also wanted to mention before we get to our panelists and our auditors, we'll talk more about what those are in just a minute. I wanted to mention that we still have spots available for our Horse Lovers Cruise, and that is next February. If you're interested in learning more about that, go to horseradionetwork.com/cruise. And now we're going to get to one of our first auditors and listeners. She is Jill from Western Pennsylvania. Hi, Jill.
Hello.
Jill, tell everybody what you do for a living.
So I'm a flight nurse for a medical helicopter service here in Pittsburgh called Stat Medevac. And we have about 18 bases that are sort of all over Western Pennsylvania into Ohio. We've just branched off into that area near Buffalo, Chautauqua area of New York. And we go down into D.C. and Maryland now. So I don't go all the way down there, but I tend to stay here in the Pittsburgh area, and it's a cool job.
Tell us about your horse. What do you do with your horse?
So I have my horse's name is Comet. He's he's one of those Polish Arabians, so he's a little on the chunky side. He's 21 years old. I stole him from my son. He was going to be his eventing pony. He used to do endurance and trained as a cutter, and now he dressages, and he dressages quite well. So we're going to be doing second level here. We're going to be going to Kentucky at the end of the month. So we'll be seeing Reese Koffler-Stanfield's going to be there. So I'm excited to watch Bingo, her horse Bingo, and her go. So I'm going down there with a couple of people from my barn. And
well, say hi to her. She loves that. She loves people.
I will. I was gonna send her a message before I went. And I did just get a new horse.
What'd you get?
I got, so it's called a national show horse. It's a half Arabian, half saddlebred. She was a saddle seat horse, and she's no longer going to do that. She's going to dressage with me. So she's going to be a really big project.
Is she gated or have a weird gait?
No. I think when she was younger, you could tell she did. They sort of started to retrain her a little bit, like her rear end sort of got to catch up with the front end. It's sort of like she moves very fast, short, quick steps, has the higher knee movement. But she's 10 years old now. I'm not real sure how long she's actually been out of saddle seat, but it's a whole restart. And I've actually talked to a lovely woman named Samat Whip. She wrote in 2019, she wrote an article for the USDF, and she used to do saddle seat, and she retrained 2 of her saddle seat horses to do dressage. So I got in contact with her. It was lovely. Talked to her for about an hour and a half prior to making the purchase, just to see if this was something that was possible. I don't have a big bankroll, so everything I'm going to do is a project. So she's a lovely mover underneath, saw some potential, talked to Samat. She said, it's absolutely possible. It's just going to take forever. So she said,
well, she's 10. You have forever.
Right. Well, at the time I have, money I don't. So that's the trade-off. So it's either get a very young horse and wait till it grows up, or find something to retrain that's sound and sane, which she's sound and sane. She's just a little nervous, but
congratulations for that. All right, let's go to New York. We have Leah here. Hi, Leah.
How are you? How is everybody?
Good. Your sound is great tonight, by the way. So Leah, tell us a little, where do you work?
So I live in New York. I work in a small school district. I'm the technology director there. There's about 1,000 kids, K-12.
You're a geek too.
I am. I wasn't originally. I was a biology teacher for about 15 years, and this job kind of opened up, and they asked me if I wanted it. And I actually turned it down initially, and they said, look, if you don't like it, you can go back to the classroom. So I kind of went for it. So I've been doing this 6 years now. I love it. I really love my job.
Terrific. And what tell us about your horse.
So my horse is a Welsh Cob. We're guessing because he's got no papers. He's 11 years old. He's only 14.3, maybe 15 hands on a good day. He's like me. I'm 5 foot, maybe 5'1" on a good day. So he's a little guy, but he's really stocky. He's a real stocky, almost looks like drafty. He's real thick. So I've had him 11 years. No, he's 11. I've had him 3 years, and he's just the best horse I've ever owned. I've owned a lot of horses growing up, and he is perfect. So we're just starting to adventure, and I have a hunter pace I'm scheduled for next weekend, which I'm excited. We're still horse showing and trail riding and things like that. So he's awesome.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Look at you. You can tell you glow when you talk about your horse.
Oh, I love him. He's such a good boy. My husband, he'll say, how is the barn? And I'll say, good. How is Thor? And it's always like he's the best every single night. He's the best horse. So.
Now we're going to go all the way around the world, and we're going to go to Amiee, who is from Australia. Hi, girl.
Hi.
Good to talk to you. So what part of Australia are you from?
I live in the Hunter Valley, so that's about 2.5 hours north of Sydney. It's wine country.
Wine country? Is it horse country?
It is. Certainly is.
So tell us what you do there for work.
So I work as a manager for a standardbred rehoming company. So we take standardbreds that have just finished their racing career, maybe they've had a bit of a spell or something like that, and we put them under saddle and find them new homes.
That's very cool. Rewarding. That is cool. You kind of do what Jamie does, only with standardbreds.
I'm not quite as brave as Jamie. I do a lot of the logistics and the organising and the paperwork and all that sort of stuff. I have a fantastic team of trainers that do all the really brave stuff. So
you're not doing the first ride on them, no?
No, I'd like to. I'd like to give it a go, but we'll see what happens.
Do you have your own pony?
I do.
What do you have?
So I've got a mare named Tallow. She is a Gypsy Cob cross standardbred, so she's a part bred standardbred. She is a mare. Like, she's a real, I've always said, I'm a mare person, but I got Tallow and I'm like, I don't think I can do another one. I'm in love with her. I'm complete. Like, she can do anything to me and I'm like, oh, aren't you pretty? You're so pretty. But yeah, we've got our first competition at the end of the month, which is really, really exciting. So I think she'll be fine. I don't know if I'll be fine. So there's a lot of nerves. We'll get there.
Well, so great. Well, I'm glad you're joining us. I think this is the first time we've had somebody from overseas on the Roundtable, so I like that. That's fun. And you've been listening for a long time, haven't you? Have you been a long time listener? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah, I think we've talked before in the past and years ago. Well, let's do this. Let's start your questions now. These questions are the topics that we're going to handle are all submitted by the panelists. So these are your questions. I don't make them up. So, Amiee, tell us what your question was, and then we'll see what everybody has to say about it.
Yeah, sure. So I was hoping to talk a little bit about managing things like self-doubt, anxiety, loss of confidence, because I think just about everyone who has had anything to do with horses at some point bar maybe a few exceptional individuals, have been through that. So I think it's probably a really good topic to float about the roundtable, and just see what people's experiences have been, how they've overcome them, or how they're overcoming them.
Have you had an issue? Is that what's bringing this up?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What happened to you, Amiee? What was the...
Mental health has been a thing for a while. I've always really struggled with things like anxiety and self-doubt, and that's something that I've always been very open about. In terms of equestrian and loss of confidence and things like that, I had quite a bad fall about 3 years ago. And so rebuilding my confidence has been such an extraordinary process, not just in terms of my riding goals, but just reframing my entire outlook on horses and in life. Like it's been a really formative kind of journey that I've been on in terms of regaining my confidence and overcoming a lot of my mental health issues. And I think we need to be more open about mental health issues and things like that. So I thought we'd use the roundtable as a bit of a platform in talking about it. There's the Auditor subgroup for mental health, which is really fantastic. And I think the two do tend to tie into each other because we're also passionate about our horses, that they do kind of feed into each other. So I thought we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I 100% relate to this one because about, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago now, I broke my leg. Right, I've never really hurt myself riding. I don't know how I survived all those years as a kid. I guess you just bounce, you know. And I was the one that got on everything. No matter what they were, I got on them. So it was the first time I had really hurt myself. It was a bad, I broke both lower leg bones. Coming back from that was so hard. It still is hard. I mean, I see it. It's funny. I'm still at the same barn, different horse, obviously. But if I'm jumping the same line, it was an outside line, it'll jump into my brain. I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember when you were flying. He bucked me off really bad, like bucked me off, and I hit the fence post. So I combat with that. And, one of the things that I think I've learned to do is communicate to my trainer and say, look, I don't know why, but tonight it's in the forefront of my mind. It's here. I'm nervous. I have this anxiety. I don't know why, but I got to work through it. But just realize like some of what's happening tonight is anxiety. I think we're so used to hiding it, right? We don't admit we're scared. That's why we got on everything stupid. Exactly. And even the night that I got hurt, I shouldn't have jumped the second fence. But how many times are we told, finish the line? And I wish I hadn't finished the line because I was already out of the saddle. And, I think one of the pieces is just communicating, just admitting it and just saying, look, and embracing it. Yep, I'm scared tonight. And I don't know why, but we're going to work through it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we've all, I think, can share a scary tale of where we've broken something. Again, I've been there, but I think going back to kind of what Amiee was saying as far as mental health, I think, especially for someone like me, I have a very high stress job, and the barn is that like refuge. That's the place where I get to let down and just decompress from all of the ugliness that you see in the world. And I think when you start becoming afraid of the very thing that provides you that let down, that peace, it mentally, it screws you up, and you're thinking, why am I torturing myself going to the barn? But this is also the place that I love, and getting over that is, it's hard, but so many people have gone through that, and sharing the experience with each other, I think is, and people, listening right now, I'm sure they all have a story and what they did to get through. But yeah, it's definitely going to twist your brain around when you're afraid of the thing that brings you mental peace.
Absolutely. Like it's interesting that you said that, Jill, and I didn't know what you did for work before we met today. And that was something that really, I struggled with, particularly in the last 12 months, because I had a career in emergency services, and I ended up being put on medical leave for post-traumatic stress disorder. And so I was just in this really, really bad place for about 12 months where I was terrified to ride, and then I was terrified to go to work, and I was just terrified of just existing. Like it was really, really hard. So it was basically at a point where something had to give. Like I had to get over one part of it because it was just, I just couldn't bring myself out of this loop. And like Leah said, it's so important to communicate to a trainer. And I think it's really important to find a trainer as well that is understanding of that. And, you know, if you say I'm having a bad day, I'm a little bit fragile today, like my trainer's fantastic with that. I go, I'm a little bit fragile today. They can work with you on that day.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what they saw a week ago, but what's happening on that day.
Yeah, because it changes every week.
Exactly.
The other piece I think for me that was so important is this relationship I have with Thor. He's he's not a beginner horse. He spooks and he'll panic if his rider's panicking. He ran away with my daughter when she was like 3 years ago. Nothing big, but he was scared and she was scared. But he's a kind horse. He's kind. He does. I fell off of him only once I was riding him outside in the woods. And he like panicked and came back to me because he was like, why are you on the ground? So I think my relationship with him really has helped me get past things because I'm like, we're in this together, dude. Like, you know, I know that he's kind of cares about me. Not that he, you know, wouldn't protect himself over me, but I think that's a big piece. I think if I was on a horse that was still maybe unpredictable, I think it would be a lot harder for me.
That's
Definitely.
where I was. So the horse I had, he was the first horse I ever owned. And I got him out of a schooling lesson. I didn't know that much at the time. And I, you know, he was a schooling horse. I thought he was safe. And, you know, it turned out he had a lot of soreness issues. And the better we made him feel, it's almost like the angrier he got, or he was just just mentally damaged and sort of withdrawn. And as we were bringing him out, Jamie sort of helped me through a lot of dealing with him, trying to retrain him and fix things and work with this. But I think at some point, you know, your horse seemed to be kind. And in my case, you have to take a hard look at what you're doing and go, this isn't safe. This is the wrong match. And as much as we love to think that this is my forever animal, I put the time in, you have to be safe. And
absolutely,
if you're on the wrong horse, I mean, you could, you know, I'll be morbid. You could die. You could be seriously injured. You could be paralyzed. You could be brain damaged. I mean, we all probably know someone who's had something very irreversible happen to them on a horse. And that's what terrified me is, you know, and it took the 21-year-old Arabian horse for me to get back on. And even that day when I sat on this little horse that wasn't going to do anything, I was shaking and crying. It was the worst moment of my life, but I said, I have to do this for my mental health. Ultimately, I have to get over this because I love this, but you also have to be properly mounted.
That's so important. That's so important. Like, I think it sort of plays in a little bit to what Leah was saying before, where there's this idea that, or maybe it was Jill that said it, I can't remember, but there's this idea that we have to be a certain way and we have to hide certain things as equestrians. I think there's sort of a little bit of that bravery culture where we've got to be brave and we've got to get on the big horse and we've got to do this jump and we've got to jump this high and we've got to be this good. And I think that does sort of feed into situations where people do find themselves over-mounted. I know it certainly has with me. That's why I ended up losing
or I'm
my
a
confidence.
Failure.
Yes.
Or I'm not good and I didn't put the time in or the energy in if it doesn't work out. You don't want to feel like you left something unturned. Like you
see, some of George Morris still lives within all of us. Am I allowed to say his name? I don't know, but I think we all know what I meant there.
Did you ever heard of imposter syndrome?
No, yeah. I have it every day.
Yeah.
Acute imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like I go, what am I doing? I've got no
What am I doing?
Anywhere near horses. What is this? This is insane. What am I doing? What have I done?
Sometimes I feel like that at my job too. Like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. You're trusting me to do what?
I've got to put what where?
You know what I did when I was a teenager?
It's not good.
Do you have the thing where people will find out what you do and they go, "What's the worst thing you've ever seen?"
Oh yeah.
And I go, I don't really think you want the answer to that question. You don't want to know because you go, "Oh, this is really funny." Because my husband used to be in the job as well. Like we'd sit there at family dinner, we'd be cacking ourselves about something that had happened, and everyone else at the table sitting there going, "What's wrong
my
with you?"
husband's a SWAT officer, so
Oh, geez.
undercover narcotics. And,
Oh my God!
nice.
Between the two of you.
Those are good conversations at dinner.
very good conversations. We get lots and lots of questions like, "Do you really want me to answer that?" Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need to move on to the next topic. Thank you, Amy, for bringing that up. I think it's an
It's a good
important
one,
topic. Yeah. Well, this roundtable is sponsored by Purina. If your horses can't get out on green grass for their daily dose of omegas, Purina's got you covered. The Purina team of PhD equine nutritionists have 2 new products that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids and taste better than many other sources, like fish oil. Try the Purina Omega Match Timothy-based ration balancer or ahi oil supplement and see for yourself why these are among some of the best omegas that nature offers. It takes science and love together, each pulling their weight to help your horses live their best lives. And they put a terrific website together that explains all of this, explains the new products, explains ahi flower oil, all of that. Go to purinamills.com/omega match. purinamills.com/omega match. It really is a good website. And now, Leah, your question.
So my question actually ties in a little bit to the previous question in terms of setting goals. As an adult, so I'm 45 years old. I've been riding since I was 4. I finally bought a horse after having kids. I had a horse when the kids were really little, an off-the-track thoroughbred who was a nutcase. And, I was horseless for a couple of years. Now I bought Thor about 3 years ago. He's a 11-year-old Welsh cob. And so I'm sort of struggling with, what do I do now? I'm riding him in 2-foot, 2-3 hunters or equitation classes. I've done the pleasure with him just for fun. I mainly do local shows. He's really not an A show horse. I'm not really an A show rider. He skip changes, so the judges have to be tolerant to the skip change, and a professional can get a real change on him, but we struggle with that. So I'm just struggling with the goals. As a teenager, I think our goals were what? Jump bigger fences every year. I'm going to jump, 2.6, 3 foot, 3.6, and then get to the A shows. Like for us, Harrisburg was such a big deal, be able to, or hits. We have hits up in New York. So I guess I'm struggling with, what do I do? How do I set goals? I have a horse show this weekend. I'm doing 2-3 hunters and possibly equitation. And it's not that it's not fun. It's all my friends. It's a lot of the people, but I guess it's not as, and I'm not saying that I have it and I'm doing really well with it. I don't want anybody to think that I'm perfect. I'm certainly still screwing up, but it's getting boring. I wish that there was more for us. I don't really know what to do in terms of setting goals anymore. Where am I going? Where am I headed? So that was my topic. Anybody have any advice?
So I have a friend who, we both just recently moved barns together. She sort of lost her, long story, but there was a lease that she had and kind of got sold out from under her kind of deal. And then she sort of found herself, well, what do I do? What do I ride? And I was like, well, the new barn I'm at, there's this very experienced horse who can do dressage, he can do the jumping. He can do everything. And he's also 20 years old. And so very kind and experienced and things like that. And she, she's just like, I don't even think I know how to ride that well. And I said, well, come try this horse. And she's just like, well, I don't really know where I want to go with this. Well, I said, well, why don't you just try going to a dressage schooling show? I said, and then, you do these patterns. Right now, they're just circles and diagonals. And you're doing these patterns and you're going to get, your score sheet, and it's going to tell you different things that you need to work on to get that number higher. And that might not mean a lot to a lot of people. Like, I don't care about scores, but it's not about caring about the score. It's about sort of having a direction. And, for her, she's finding love in dressage. It's like, oh, now I have direction. Now I know why my trainer is asking me to push my horse into the outside rein and what that means to balance him, and to get that shoulder back. She's figuring all that out, and she's finding some kind of goal in all of that, which happens to be, thank God it's dressage, because but in in your case, for her it was she just trail rode, not that's just trail road. Sorry, anyone, just trail road. But for her, it just opened up new avenues of things she didn't really know that was out there. I didn't know that was out there, which is why I said, come try this. This is like a whole very detail-oriented place.
Cool pants.
No,
dressage pants.
Yeah, but maybe trying a different discipline or something. Like
I've been thinking about it. Yeah, someone else mentioned to me. Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about dressage, is that you never get it right. Like, you can have the best horse in the world and there's still always something to work on. And I was sort of growing up, I was, I wanted to be the professional show jumper. I wanted the eventer. All I wanted to do was go really fast and jump big fences. That's like all I wanted to do. And when I had my fall and I lost my confidence, I found my coach, who I'm with now, because she was specialist in loss of confidence, but she was also a very, very accomplished dressage rider. And I have found my thing. I love it. I absolutely love dressage. Growing up, I was like, I'm going to do dressage. That's boring. But now I can't get enough of it. And there's always something to work on, which is really, really beautiful. And I think trying new things in different disciplines, I think it pushes you and I think it pushes yourself. But I sort of went through something similar recently, and I said to my coach, I was like, okay, well, I've gotten to a point where I've got my confidence back. What do I do now?
What now?
So I know where you're coming from, and I know that feeling. And it's the good thing about horses is there's so many different avenues you can explore.
Yeah. And it ties into the confidence piece, because honestly, look, the horse girl in me wants to jump 3-footed 3-6 fences again, right? I don't think I'll ever say no to that. But the real me with my confidence issues, I'm perfectly fine at 2-3. 2-6 I'm okay with Oxford. That scares the shit out of me, but I'm okay with it. So aiming for bigger fences is not, it can't be my goal anymore. And I don't have the horse for it anyway. So I wish dressage would roll over a little bit or cross over to what we do, because, we go into a ring, it's, I don't know if you guys have ridden hunter jumpers, but it's like, every judge is so different. There's a great article, actually, I think in Heels Down in the Spark, talking about how subjective it is, and how every time you walk into the ring, it's like, does this judge like my heels down, or does this judge like my shoulders back more? Does this judge like my horse's head set this way? Like, you're sort of playing this guessing game. Instead of focusing on, am I executing, A, B, and C correctly, which is what I love about dressage. It's like, kind of like, I wish every judge would give me a pamphlet of all the things that this is what you did okay, and this is what you need work with. I wish that'd be awesome if it did it.
I think that was the whole transparency thing about hunters that people had an issue with, is that, what's my criteria? Is it just, do you like me? Am I skinny enough? I mean,
do I have the right coach? Do I have the connected coach? Yeah.
Is my coach dressed well? Does she have makeup on?
Isn't that why a lot of hunters go do jumpers? Because they don't have to worry about that. They just go around and jump the jumps or not, right?
It's been tempting. It's been tempting. The 2-foot jumpers look fun, and it doesn't matter if he does a skip change.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Get around in time and jump the jumps. Have you tried anything else? Have you tried endurance? Have you tried anything else?
And it's funny, there's another auditor, and I feel terrible because I'm forgetting her name at the moment, but I connected with her, and she was actually helping me get connected with local, I don't want to say baby endurance, but it was like beginner endurance people to just kind of get together with. And I just got my first truck, thank God. It's like the best vehicle on the planet. So now I'm hunting for a horse trailer. I have one that I can borrow, but I need my own.
Okay, I have to ask. We have to ask. We're having a conversation. You just mentioned trucks. So is it Ford?
It's an F-150.
Okay, Ford. Okay,
V8. Good. I went with the bigger engine. It's 11,000 pounds, so it's not a monster. It'll pull 11,000.
Good for you, though. Good for you.
My poor husband. What did you say?
Chevy girl, huh, Jill?
I know what you're talking about.
Sorry. I know.
Do we have these arguments in Australia about which truck?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what is it in Australia? What is still Ford and Chevy and all that?
The big
Dodge.
We've only just got Dodge and Chevy and like the big we call them yank tanks. We've only just got them over here that are, well, I say we've just got them over here. They've been around, but they're much more popular now. But the big, at least in my life, the big overarching rivalry has been Ford versus Holden. So
No, I've never heard of Holden.
I never heard of Holden either.
they've just been
gonna
bought
look that
by the I can't remember the name, but it's an American company, General Motors. Holden
yeah,
has
okay.
been bought by
Yeah.
General Motors, which is
Yeah.
why we're getting more American.
Gotcha.
models. So.
Anyway, that was a side note. Sorry about that. I had to ask.
So
Yeah, I think trying some other new things. I think
Oh,
you
you
might
asked
find.
the question.
Yeah,
Oh, tried. Oh.
yeah,
I was going to tell you, I have tried games on horseback.
yeah.
I have a friend who does.
You're going back to
It is-
Pony Club days here.
Oh my god, it's so different. She actually, it's great. Her place is literally within walking distance through the woods behind my house, and it's a completely different world.
Have you tried Hunter Paces or anything like that?
I'm
Those
scheduled
are
to go
fun.
on one. I have done it as a kid, but I am taking Thor on his first one, the 20. I'm so scared.
Oh no, you're going to have a blast. Hunter
That's
Paces
fine.
are fun. Oh, they're just
Because
there's no
you
pressure.
don't have to
You
jump.
can go
Right.
around everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can go around. So that I'm going to actually take. My sister has a couple little ponies. She just trail rides. But I said, come do 100 paces with me. She's like, I can't do that. I said, yes, you can. We're just running through the woods together. We don't have to go
as a team.
Yeah, like as a team, and we get to wear weird outfits. Like, let's
It's
go.
so fun. I mean, as a kid, like a teenager, I did them and have nothing but wonderful memories. But now, of course, with an adult brain, I'm a little nervous. I'm nervous about the team. I'm going I don't know, like the people you're going with, you have to really trust them, right? To trust that.
I hope they're not watching this.
Yeah.
Actually,
I know,
They're
right?
not comfortable to
I
slow
told you I
down or
didn't post this on
something.
Facebook.
I hope they're not watching this, or you're going to be dumped in the woods in the back there somewhere.
You're like, we're done with her. She's going too slow.
You'll be fine. That's the other thing about Hunter Paces. People are in it for fun. You're not winning big dollars, right? So, and there's not a lot of judging going on. So.
No judging. So, no, I'm excited. It'll be fun.
Yeah, Jennifer loves Hunter Paces. Are you a fox hunter, Jill?
A fox hunter?
Yeah,
No,
did you?
I
No.
invented. No, I invented. I did
Okay,
some
all right.
inventing, and then the whole, don't want to break this, that,
Break things
this.
anymore?
Hence why dressage is sort of taking
Yeah.
over.
I get it.
'Cause I love it. Like, I love it, but when you're doing it and it's exciting and you finish, you're like, thank God I'm done. That was great. But I was like, why?
I lived. I felt that way every time Jennifer went around. Thank God you lived.
Yeah.
So, hey, do they have fox hunting down there, Amy?
Not really. It's
No?
not. It's not a big thing. I wish it was more of a thing. 'Cause
No
there are
kangaroo hunting or any of that? No.
No.
No. Okay. Just checking.
They are delicious.
Jeez.
No, I
Tastes
wish
like
there was. I wish it was more. I wish there was sort of more stuff like that, like team chasing. I don't know if that's the same as Hunter Paces, but team chasing that they've got over in England, I think that looks like so much fun. And it's completely lunatic, but a lot of fun as well. I wish there's more stuff like that out here, but not so much. It's not as big a thing. So
Okay. Now, before we go on to the next question, I have to ask you. Jamie talks endlessly about Man from Snowy River. Endlessly about that movie. So tell Jamie all the things that are wrong with her perceptions of Man from Snowy River.
I haven't heard a lot of Jamie's sort of perceptions. I know she's mad for it, and I know she's dying to get Tom Burlinson on the show. But yeah, I'm not. What perceptions does she have? That we're all like that?
Yeah, that you're all just Man from Snowy River.
Yes,
That's
we
right.
I was gonna say all Australian guys on horseback are hot.
Yeah, are hot and all look like that.
And they all gallop down hills.
Feels like this.
That's like Pony Club for us. That's Pony Club. Every Pony Club is built on a hill like this, and whoever makes it to the bottom
on their horse's back still.
on their horse's back still. Yeah, we round up brumbies. It's totally.
Yeah,
What's a
yeah, it's all that way.
What is a Brumby?
That's their wild horse. That's like their Mustang.
Oh, okay.
That horse.
You
is
haven't
like,
seen Man from Snowy
yeah.
River. Have you seen it, Jill?
No.
Oh boy.
Oh no!
No.
You're no longer friends. Jamie's never going to talk to you again.
This is me going Australian bred. They're Brumbies, but then
I'll put it
to
on
you
the
they're
list.
Mustangs. But
Yeah.
no, that movie is just I think part of everyone. I don't think there is a horse person that
Except for
exists
Jill and me.
in Australia at least that has not got and that doesn't get the goosebumps and the chills when they hear that music at the end.
Yeah. Oh, you just
Like,
gave
you
me
just-
chills thinking about it.
I was gonna walk. I was gonna walk down the aisle of my wedding to Jessica's song, which is like Jessica's theme tune from The Man from Stony River. So it's part of us.
It's part of the culture.
It's part of us. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
We have Star Wars.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, we have Star Wars.
We have Star Wars.
I'm all in on that one.
Yeah.
All right. I got to ask you guys before we get to the next question is you are all auditors, and I explained earlier that auditors are super fans of the Horse Radio Network, of all of our different shows, and you contribute anywhere from $3 to $25 a month, depending on what you want to do. It's completely up to you. But why do you like being an auditor? For all the listeners out there who haven't pulled the trigger yet and haven't decided to become an auditor, let's start in Australia. Why?
I just started listening to the podcast, and I kind of just felt like I was missing out. Honestly, that's why I became an auditor. Is I felt like I was missing out because there are all these conversations that would happen in the podcast, like on Horses in the Morning, and I'm like, what are they talking about? So I literally just went online and I became an auditor that way, and I am so glad that I did, because that Facebook page is life. It's so supportive, and it's so nice to have something like that, because the equestrian community can be so cutthroat. And it's so refreshing to have somewhere that you can go and it's not all taken too seriously, and you can have a laugh, and that's the biggest benefit that I've gotten out of it.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing. I started listening to the show. I'm a newbie. I really only started listening maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, you are new.
I am a newbie.
You're still a rookie.
I am. And about a month in, I became an auditor because I wanted to hear more and see the Facebook page. I think that's the only Facebook page on the planet that doesn't have negativity in it, right? You can post anything in there and no one's going to attack you. It's very friendly, and I feel like everybody's family. I love the Christmas presents that we do, and that's like my most favorite thing. I don't know why. It's so fun. I love the connections. Like Amiee, I have a friend in Australia now, I feel like. It's awesome. I know, I love it. And it really feels like, if you have a course question or any question, really, we've really said that, throw it in there, and you've got 20 people that are going to respond and help you answer it. So,
and if you feel like garbage about something, like a couple of weeks ago, I felt really garbage after a ride that I had, and I put a thing in there, and I was like, oh, I feel really poo about myself. And everyone just jumped on and went, hey, you're not alone. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jill, you've been around longer than these two, right? I mean, you've been. Didn't you do auditor from the beginning?
So I started. When I think I found Horse Radio Network on Horse Lovers page, because I was trying to remember how I found it. I think there was like a banner or some flag at the bottom of Horse Lovers or something, because I was buying a pair of boots because I wanted to ride. And I was like, ooh, what is this? And it was very easy to download. The app is what I used. And I was like, oh, I have found my people. And I just listened. I was just listening to back shows, and then there were other shows, and then there were more shows. And so I don't know how long I've been listening, but I've been riding for about 6 years. And I think maybe about a year and a half or a year after that. So can it really be like?
Yeah, I think it was. I think that sounds right from when I remember you doing.
Wow. Okay. So what I liked about being an auditor is that you always have like that little voice going, I don't know if this is right. And becoming an auditor, that little voice is so much louder now. So for being a new person, like you say, the horse industry can suck sometimes, and people lie and so you're just like, something doesn't feel right. Like those little spidey senses, and becoming an auditor made that voice so much louder, so that you could spot when something was being unsafe or trying to take advantage of you, or take advantage of your children, or things like that. And maybe I'm getting a little dark with this, but like and you could go into that room and say, hey guys, I don't know, what are you thinking about this? And something that you're thinking like, this should be obvious to me, but let me just run it by some other people and see what they think. And they're like, oh no, and so you feel like you have like some support in that support system, sort of, if you're dealing something within the, dramatic horse community.
So if you want to become an auditor, go to horseradionetwork.com, scroll down to the right-hand side of the page. You'll see the auditor banner, and for as little as $3 a month, you too can join the party and the fun over there. You also get the Horses in the Morning post show, where Jamie and I get a little off color at times or talk about things that we can't talk about on the regular show. So I know that everybody enjoys that as well. Well, now we're going to Jill for the final question.
Whew, okay. So mine's a little more lighthearted. So when I first started riding, I was at a barn where weren't too many people showing. So, I started going out by myself, didn't know anyone, didn't know anything, a little nervous. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but hey, let's just get going. So my question is, when you guys show, if you do show, do you prefer to show alone? Do you like to show in a group? Like now I have a group and I really enjoy having, your people, especially when you do encounter some of those, barns that, oh, there's that group, but it's like, I've got people now, this is my crew.
Yeah, I've got backup.
Instead of being by yourself. But I do miss showing alone a little bit because you can do your own thing. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys do? Do you like that? What's your advice if somebody is showing alone? Things like that.
I
do it.
Go ahead, Amy.
No, I'm very much. I need people around me to hold my hand. Very, very much so. I need someone there that I can bounce things off. But at the same time, I really enjoy that part of horse showing where someone's flustered and you can go in and you can help them.
Yeah.
And, you can throw a couple of braids in. If they're running out of time, you can polish a horse. You can get the poo stains off them because they've pooed on themselves in the trailer. And I really like that kind of community and the way everyone rallies. Well, at least in my experience, a lot of people rally at horse shows. So I need that.
Have you always shown in a group, or did you ever show by yourself at any point? Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I've never gone out and done it on my own, mainly because I haven't really sort of had the opportunity when I was growing up and showing predominantly. It was always in a group. But another thing is I get in my own head if I'm on my own.
You need someone else.
I need someone else. Like if I'm just sitting there, I will just ruminate over everything that can go wrong if I'm just sitting there and I'm left to my own devices. So it's way better if there's a group and if someone can see me kind of going down that black hole and sort of sinking into myself, someone can be like, hey, let's do this. So
I think that it can go both ways in turn. Like I've never done it myself either. I've only done with a group. Now that I'm in the trailer business, I have already said to myself, like, why couldn't I go by myself and go do pleasure class, right? And now that you guys have the wheels going about dressage, like I could certainly go by myself and do some dressage. But Absolutely. I'll tell you, there's a woman at the barn that are in our show circuit, so to speak. It's again a local show circuit. I admire her so much. She's got to be, hopefully she's not watching because I might be totally off with her age, but I think she's in her 60s. And I admire her because she comes by herself, 100% by herself. And
I know her. She's only 25. You got that completely wrong.
She looks 25.
That's what showing alone will do to you.
She's my idol because, the first time I met her and I saw that she was by herself, I immediately chummed up to her and started chatting with her. And I'm like, you go, girl, right? You can't wait for people to be around. And the stars are not always going to align if you're not at a barn where people are always going. And so she's found people if she needs help loading, she's like, hey, can someone help me load? Or if she needs, and that's the community that I love. Like it's very supportive. So I say it's kind of both ways. Do it yourself. Go. Yeah. Don't wait for people. Life's too short.
Absolutely.
And then reach out when you get there. Try to make those connections when you get there.
So when I did show alone, it was like that a lot. Like I would go and, speaking of trailers, the trailer I bought was $1,500 and it does not have a ramp assist or a lift assist for that ramp, and it's all steel. I made lots of friends because otherwise I couldn't get my ramp up. Yeah. I might not have been your best friend after that, but I just find the dads that were all standing around like, oh, I can do this. And so, thank you. But that was neat. Like that one woman you said, she'd go to shows. You meet so many different people, and they would get excited that you're by yourself.
Yeah.
now that the dressage tests are a little bit more complicated, I like to have somebody there to read it if I'm having a spastic day, though.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you need to read this. I paid entirely too much money for this class to forget my test. Please read. So that's the benefit.
Jennifer had me read her test once. That never happened.
Really?
Yeah, my cadence was not good. I just
14
I think there's an art to reading a test.
There is.
Yeah. You don't want to be like they've already done the move and now you're just reading it.
Right, exactly. That's where I was.
Yeah, you've got to recognize what move they're up to and what comes next, and it's like when you're scribing. When you're scribing for
I've
a
never
judge,
done that. I want to do that.
It's cool. It's fun because you just basically, it's a really good way to learn the tests because you sit there and you literally watch test after test after test. So it's a really fun way to kind of learn the tests, but it's like high pressure.
If I was going to say, is it like a little panicky? You've got to write really fast, and
like
what's the important thing they said?
No, there's kind of a bit of an art to that as well. And especially when you get up to like the bigger tests, like the Prix St. George and the Inter 1 and the Grand Prix and things like that. When you're penciling them, you're like, I don't even recognize that move, but that's what we're up to. So it's a good way to learn.
Is that what you're thinking about doing dressage shows by yourself? Like
Me?
You have Jill, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I started that way. I think I was just sort of thinking like as a topic for everybody because I know that there's people out there that probably really want to go to a show.
Yeah.
But I don't have a group. I don't have a person. Like you don't need a person. You just go and start like small and simple with something that you can remember. And as a schooling show, if you do mess up the test, it's like what, $22 for the class. It's not terrible if you forget something. Yeah. But I guess I was just I was just wondering how many people actually, took the chance and went out and showed alone. Or
I can tell you that Jennifer's done it that way most of her life, and she's kind of an introvert, so I think she'd rather almost do that. Maybe one person along to help out, but she'd almost rather. I learned very early on when to talk and not to talk at shows. That was something every horse husband has to go through. We all learned that,
right?
She was an eventer, yeah. She had to give up on that for the same reason you did. It's just like breaking bones was getting more frequent as you get older and hurting more. It's funny how that hurts more the older you get too.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go from I'm a bit sore for an hour to I'm sore for 3 weeks.
Exactly. Exactly.
How much do I have left on my private health?
Do you ever pull a muscle like, you wake up, yawn, and then like your whole neck is stiff? Everyone's like, oh my gosh, what happened? Did you fall off your horse? Like, no,
I yawned.
I fell down my stairs at my house the other week, and my husband thought I'd like really properly hurt myself because I just didn't move.
Was alcohol involved? Okay, just checking.
It was first thing in the morning, and I just slipped down. I just laid there, and he thought I was dead or paralyzed or something. And I'm like, no, I'm just really embarrassed. I'm just really embarrassed, and like it hurt for a week. I just felt so old.
All right, let's wrap this up with a fun question. Let's wrap it up with a little bit lighter topic. So I want to know, we'll start in Australia, what is the drink of choice? It can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic.
Ooh, probably. Do you know what my favorite is? It's Kahlua. Kalua's coffee liqueur. It's probably not really great to go to sleep with.
No, probably not.
But I really, really.
It depends what the ratio is, I think, for coffee to Kahlua.
There's these new things out too. It's vodka and soda, but in a can, so you don't have to worry about pre-mixing it yourself, which is great because I'm really lazy. But it's got like 90 calories or something like that, so you can have a little drinky drink, but not feel really bloated and the next day. So,
Jill, what's yours?
Probably like those little 90-calorie cans now. Like we just had a discussion, like we've gotten to that point in our lives where if you have a glass of wine, your whole face blows up, you can't breathe. What is that? It's like this histamine response or something, like where your nose swells up, like you're stuffy, like you have a cold. When did that happen?
I know, what the heck.
Like when?
I don't know if it's like a preservative or something like you.
I don't know. I can't drink wine anymore.
Yeah, like it was like I used like Pinot Grigio. That was my thing. I liked a Pinot Grigio. And like you have that. Those I can do.
But,
Well, they're sweet and very little wine. I'm just holding up a wine cooler called Jamaican Me Happy. So, I mean, there's 3.2% alcohol. So,
I was gonna say, it's like
So it's like water.
in there.
it's soda.
it's like if you have like a big night now. Like when you're 18, you go out and you have vodka, Red Bull, and all this trash you put in your body, and you wake up the next morning and you go to work. But now you're like, I need like 3 days planning. If I'm going to have a big night, I can't commit to anything.
The whole room the next day, right?
my friend just had his 50th birthday, and we went to the Meadows racetrack, and I'm letting my hair down. The next morning, my husband's just laughing at me the whole day. Took the whole day, and I'm pretty sure into the next day, I was still quite tired.
Yep.
I was like, who was I? What was I thinking?
I used to drink like multiple whiskey sours and iced teas, and it was just those for the day. If I drank one iced tea right now, I'd be under the table. It'd be bad. Leah, what's your choice? It could be non-alcoholic too.
So I wish my first thought was non-alcoholic, but
It automatically went to alcohol.
Yeah.
my favorite drink of all time is made by a Mexican restaurant about 15 minutes from here. They make a watermelon mint margarita.
Ooh.
It is to die for. I mean, I love them. My only complaint is they're like $15 because they're made with like all real stuff.
But is it huge?
No, it's
you
can't see my fingers. It's not huge. It's not. It's like what I would call like a whiskey glass size.
Oh.
So it's not big, unfortunately.
And I get the
tried
one where they put the whole
recreating it.
beer in it. Like
I know. I lived in Arizona. They used to give huge ones.
Yes.
Actually, during quarantine, the best part ever is you could do curbside pickup. So we could bring them home.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Right out of Louisiana and the daiquiri stands down there in Louisiana, drive-through daiquiri.
Yep.
And you guys know what mine is. You listen to the show long enough. Strawberry daiquiris are still my favorite. Yeah, that's still my favorite. Well, that's it. Thank you guys for joining me so much here on the Roundtable. Of course, if you missed any part of this, you can go to stablescoop.com. Or you can go to the Stable Scoop on any podcast player and listen to the audio version and listen to the whole thing at your leisure. You can get all of the shows on the Horse Radio Network. We have about 20 of them now, including Horses in the Morning, which I host. You can find them on the Horse Radio Network app, iOS or Android, or any podcast player. If you want to see a complete list of the shows that we do at the Horse Radio Network, you can go to horseradionetwork.com. Scroll down, the homepage has all of them listed there. We'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of Stable Scoop. We want to thank Purina for being the sponsor in this particular episode. Go to purinamills.com/Omega Match.